Musical Talk, the UK independent musical theatre podcast.
Hello, welcome to Musical Talk. My name is Nick Hudson. Once again, the wonders of Zoom have proven itself to become very, very useful with this podcast. I'm sitting here across from a friend of Musical Talk and a friend of mine. This is Charlie Brunton, a.k.a. Charles Brunton, a.k.a. Miss Trunchbull last time we spoke, I believe.
Yes, gosh, I can't believe that's like 9 years ago now.
God,
10 years, maybe.
Amazing. And you've done films for Netflix since and stuff, haven't you? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I did a film in America about 3 years ago called A Call to Spy. And I was so excited about it being released over in cinemas over here. And of course, it was released in cinemas. It was out for about 2 days and then COVID happened. But the good side of that is it went to all the platforms like Netflix, Amazon, Apple TV and things like that. So, yeah, it's really good. Really good film. One or two thriller.
and in a way, it opens up to more people, possibly, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So this week, Jonathan Cohen and I went to see a show, mostly out of the excitement of getting to see you again, Charlie, but also out of curiosity. Because a couple of weeks ago, our co-presenter Thos did an episode about discovering there was a musical of Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Finally, this production is on a stage, and you are the star, aren't you? You're playing the bed. No, you're not. You're playing...
I'm playing the bedknob. No, I'm playing Emelius Browne, who in the film was played by... I forgot his name. I've gone completely blank.
David Tomlinson was his name.
That's the one. Lovely chap.
Yes, and certainly he imprints, obviously... a certain image of the character in the mind of anyone wanting to come and see this show. And this show is not the film, is it? We have to be very important. We have to say that, don't we?
No, absolutely. No, this is obviously inspired by the original book, which is very different from the film itself. Also inspired by the film, but this is obviously to have with a new take on it as well. So it's evolving. Because obviously, if you want to see the film, brilliant, go and watch the film.
and it certainly takes the route that Mary Poppins took, doesn't it? Where you have an iconic film with iconic songs, so you put moments of that in, but yet you take elements from the book, the novel, and you focus it more on that as well. And it certainly, that's my doorbell, sorry. Good to know. And it certainly brings out the more British side of it, I would say, because it's by Mary Norton, who wrote The Borrowers, if you don't know that, and that's another famous British classic. So how involved were you? Were you in workshops? Were you just... Because this show has been rattling around for years, has it? Do you know the history?
They've been workshopping it for a while. There was a chance that it was going to happen at one point in Chicago a couple of years ago. But sadly, it didn't go ahead because of I believe there was some drama at the time, and so they've got together, and this team, this amazing creative team, have come together and decided to try and put the show on stage. And it's gone really well. I mean, the way that it's been devised, there's lots of workshops. They've been doing that for a couple of years now, focusing on not only the storytelling, but how the illusions can happen, how the magic can happen on stage, how visually it should look, and particularly the ending. There's lots of changes that have gone on throughout the thing, throughout the story. In the rehearsal room, we did obviously have a script given to us, and the music's all written, but it was very much after we... sort of devised within what was given to us. So the songs that we had sort of changes every sort of a couple of days. Several of the things we had to relearn again, which was actually quite exciting. Script changes we were having on a regular basis. I mean, every time we ran the show, I think even when the show opened in Newcastle, there was moments where the printer would be going crazy and the music would be handed to the band to play new music they've never played before in their lives for a live show at the start of the run. But the music is beautiful.
It is.
It's really clever,
yeah,
and it definitely twists it on its head with the audience at the end, I feel, which is wonderful.
And it's interesting, it's one of the first shows I've seen where the director is also the set designer and illusion designer. Everything
they do everything. Yeah.
Everything has to be that important to everything else, doesn't it?
Yes, because the way that it all works together, I have to be very careful what I say to not ruin anything. But in order to make things happen everyone has to be on the same wavelength, because if the director's got a different thing to what's going on with how the illusions work, it's going to be a bit of a mess on stage.
And you actually do a bit of magic, don't you, yourself? Your character is a sort of magician, you could say. And how was it learning all that? Or did you just know it before you went in?
It'll be fun, they said. Yeah. You'll have a laugh, they said. Oh, my goodness, it's so difficult. So we've got a couple of different versions of magic in the show. We've got, obviously, Eglantine's ethereal magic. We have my silks and old-style Victorian tricks magic. And we've got the magic that happens around us as well. But with my magic, it's all to do with like the silks, pulling silks out, silks changing colour. I can't speak, changing colour. I've been up doing a filming at EPK this morning since 7 a.m. So my brain is frazzled. But it was, we had Chris Fisher come in to teach us all the magic tricks, and my goodness, did he have to work with me. I've been joking with him ever since. I've had some really good reviews saying how much the magic tricks work really well. So I've been sending it to him and saying if he could sponsor me to join the Magic Circle. And he's like, absolutely not.
Well, failing everything else, Charlie, you could always be a children's entertainer.
Yes. Me and Eglantine could go on the P&O ferries back and forth from Dover to Calais with our linking rings. Yes. And
I mean, between your Miss Trunchbull skills and your Bedknobs and Broomsticks skills, I'm sure there's a lot you could take to the road. Speaking of that, I mean, the obvious logistics of a big special effects heavy show, just to make it even more difficult for everyone involved, you move venues every week, don't you? Tell us about how that's behaving and working for everyone.
Well, surprisingly, it's behaving incredibly well. Everyone is saying to me, literally, even this morning, I've got messages from people who watched the show last night saying they couldn't believe how beautiful and how magical and big the set is. Because when they saw it was weekly touring, they thought it would just be projection and a bit of and pushing a bed on wheels around the stage. Oh no, they've really gone to town with the set.
Ironically, by not going to town, but that's another story altogether.
Oh yeah, literally. Yes, that's another story. They've really gone for it. I mean, it really is a shock. I remember being outside the theatre in Newcastle after the first venue had closed, and there was sort of banging and crashing and putting in. It's a 7 trucks show. God. This one, it's a real big. You know,
you've got archways and windows, which are very important to the piece as well. Haven't you? Yeah,
archways and windows to prove that there is actual magic, no wires.
Yeah. Talk to me about your character. Did you watch the film? Did you go straight to the books? Did you ignore them both and just treat the text as new, or what was your process?
With my version of Emelius, which is different from the film, just pointing that out there now. I obviously, in the process of auditioning, I revisited the film, watched it again, and then I stepped back from that because I thought what he's done in the film is fantastic. So after getting the script, I realised that what's been written is something completely different from what's been set up in the film, slightly with the role. In the film, Emelius is this sparkly, confident soul who's a bit of a more pushing on the con artist side, while Emelius, that's been written in the script, he is obviously a trickster, but he's been pushed into that position. It's sort of against his will to do this. He's a very broken, lonely character, and he comes across this wonderful girl called Eglantine, who is a total oddball. Emelius is a total oddball, and that's their connection, the fact that there's 2 oddballs in this odd world where no one around them quite suits them, but they suit each other. So I had to really step back from the film slightly, obviously acknowledging what's been there before, but also step away from it so I can really focus on what's been written, particularly with the music in Act 2. There's a bit of a change to Emelius's character. You really see his internal monologue really in the second act. And so you have to, it's very different from the film.
And I wonder if the character change, are you going more to the character that was in the books, or was the film quite faithful to the character in the books? Because I don't know the books, sadly. So
the film. No, I would say the film is more accurate to it. The books, the original books, are completely off the ball from even the film version. I'm a necromancer from 1066.
Okay.
And I do some kind of trick or something that creates the fire of London. So they go back in time on the bed to go and visit me, and then they go back to the present day, and then they go back in time again to try and save me because they find out that I get executed in the Tower of London.
Hang on. There's another musical in London all about that same plot line, but it sounds like Back to the Future to me, but that's a different story altogether, not literally.
Exactly.
And I really, really enjoyed your performance because I saw the film years ago, so in a way I was coming in fresh to the theatre, not really knowing. I know Bobbing Along Under the Beautiful Briny Sea, and I know The Age of Not Believing, which are two wonderful songs, but everything else, it was kind of fresh to me. And the fact that you, I didn't know it was you for the first 5 minutes you came on, because your performance was so...
not me.
and we have to give massive credit to Diane Pilkington, who plays Miss Price incredibly well, and such a stunning... I mean, everyone was incredibly talented, but her rendition, especially of The Age of Not Believing, was just beautiful.
It's beautiful. I mean, she has this wonderful song, and then the bed flies, and then and then I've got to come on and do my opening number. It's a really hard start.
and then turn into a rabbit.
And then turn into a rabbit, which is very painful, may I add.
Oh, God, it must be. Mad as a March hare you are, Charlie. But it's... and what's it like touring in this day, dare I say, this new era that we're in now with everything?
Are you regarding to COVID?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, basically, we have a COVID marshal backstage who just basically keeps everyone safe, makes sure we're not getting sort of a bit lax with wearing our masks at the wrong times. We get tested regularly backstage, and with a proper test. I can't remember the names of them. And when we're not tested here, we're tested at home on a lateral flow. So there's a combination of different things that happen. And we just have to be sensible when we're not in the theatre. Obviously go and meet your friends, but if we can meet them outside. Do you know what I mean? Get on with your life, but be sensible. But luckily we've been tested regularly, and we haven't had one positive case yet in the cast, which is fantastic.
Touch wood. And bravo to the whole industry for just stepping up and carrying on, because it is...
Especially Michael Harrison, who produced this. He's done so much things to keep the industry going during all of this. He's been a bit of a saviour really for everyone.
So you were in Woking at the time of recording, which is wonderful, and even though you thought you were in Worcester, all these places must, blend into one at some point, because this is a long tour, isn't it? You even going to Ireland, Northern Ireland?
Yes, I think we're in Belfast for my 40th birthday.
Oh, how lovely.
Which is in April. So that's kind of the end of the tour, I believe. Next week I'm in Norwich, and then Nottingham, or it could be the other way around. You can never really remember. I wait for the time to tell me on Saturday night. I go, oh great, I'll go there then.
It's like the whole Whitney Houston story. I love you, Norwich, or whatever city you're in. You're the best audience I've ever had. I want to talk about this process of what we would call the preview process, but I guess on tour it's different because there is no time for previews, is there? It's just kind of you're in, you're out. But do they want to make changes? How do they make changes? Was Newcastle seen as a kind of preview week, and then everything was frozen? What was that like?
No, it was kind of we were going ahead with the show and doing it with the audience, and we were coming in each day to just rework how it reacted with the crowd, and not only how it reacted with the crowd, even so they can step back and from a creative point of view go, okay, that bit's too long, that bit's too short, that illusion doesn't work too well, that one works really well, let's extend that bit. Particularly things like the script and the music, we were getting changes literally every time we did it. These are just, I'm not talking like dramatic changes, these are like subtle moments, just to refine and tweak. So, I mean, the show that you would have seen at the start was obviously very different each time, but you didn't lose major moments. The major moments are very much set in the rehearsal room. And
how does that work for an actor who is so ingrained in a specific moment to be told, okay, you have to do this now, go out and do it? And then
the thing is, we're very lucky. We're all very adaptable. I learned a lot of adaptability. I did Nativity, the musical, before COVID, and that's very, very much in
BC.
So adaptability is my forte right now. Also, the tricks. can go wrong. I mean, no matter how much you prepare or do things can just not happen and go out the way. So you have to adapt to that as well. And you've got children on stage that are with many teams of kids that can also adapt
and go wrong.
So you have to be very adaptable. So I mean, if there's things that changes were coming in that we go, oh, that actually doesn't fit right with the way that I feel the character is going. We just sat down, discussed it, and then we either took it on board or didn't take it on board, or we evolved it or found some new way of thinking about it.
And does that carry on for the whole tour, or did there come a point where they said, right, we're locking this now?
Well, it was locked in Cambridge, I think. I think we locked because we had a big press night in Cambridge, so I think it was locked before then. Now, I think the tweaks and changes, I think, are all... well, there's not much tweaking happening, really, because we haven't got time to rehearse it. We've been so busy. I mean, also, on top of just the weekly moving, the understudies have got to get themselves ready on top of it. And there's a lot to do on this one. It's not just the usual understudy duties. It's all the other to make the magic happen stuff, which is very complicated. And particularly for musical people, things go across the music and against the music. So it can be quite tricky to pick up. So we just haven't really had time to adapt changes. I'm sure that there will, in the history of the show, have more changes yet to come. But this might be in a couple of months. It might be with the next cast and the rehearsals. Who knows?
Has the prospect of an album been talked about? Because that's something I'd like to be able to hear the songs again. I would come and see the show again if it were anywhere, but
well, I'd love them to do an album. That would be a real tick the box thing for me. I'd love them to do that. I haven't heard anything yet, but I mean, it would be wonderful if they did, because the music is absolutely beautiful. The arrangements, the orchestra. We've got a harp in the band. The band's got... I can't remember. I'm dyslexic. I can't remember if it's 14 or 17. Those numbers look very similar to me.
I thought you were going to say 14, I can't remember if it's 14 or 41.
Maybe it's 410.
Exactly. Or 1.4.
Well, 4 children in the band. No, there's a lot in the band, and the harp is just beautiful. It sounds wonderful, really wonderful. And
you do have, we mentioned this slightly earlier, but you do have new songs, don't we? So it has done the Mary Poppins route of taking the songs we know and twisting them around and rewriting lyrics for certain bits of them and intertwining them with other songs. Tell us about the new writers of this piece.
Well, I have a lot of the new stuff. Like on my opening number, Emelius the Great, that's new. My big ballad in Act 2 is It's Now, that's very new. But it's so bizarre. You flip through the score, the music, and you kind of go, where's the new stuff? I mean, it's full of new things, but it just merges so beautifully into the original score that you're just totally unaware that there are these new songs that have gone in there. There's lots of clever little moments as well, though, with underscoring music where they're playing something and it's actually the age of not believing being played backwards. This is just a little subtle underscore, just the set change they put in. But yeah, you split through and go, this beautiful music that they've created, it feels like it's been always part of the show. Clever. Because
the film has had a really interesting history. In fact, there's been about 4 different versions of it. There's been the original, which was, then they lost a lot of footage, then they reintroduced it, but the one you watch on Disney Plus is the one without the new footage. And so there's this song which to me, as someone who's in the theme park world, sounds like There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow from Epcot, which is There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, and it's actually the step in the right direction. And there's that song was never in the film, but they've recorded it, so you can kind of hear Angela Lansbury sing it along to stills footage. And then the football match was, you told us a story, Charlie, which another friend told me was incorrect, in the fact that it was filmed, but they lost half of it or something like that. So it's interesting, no one really knows the history of this.
As far as I was aware, they first released it with like hardly any football match animation scene, and then they re-released it with the football match animation scene, and then it won all the awards for the football match animation scene. That's what I've been told, but I could be wrong.
But it's such a lovely British story, and it's nice that it's having its premiere here touring the whole of the UK, which is lovely. And hopefully it has a bigger home for somewhere in the future. We don't know, but it seems to me a kind of very, overcoming hard times, which is what the show to me is about, and really wishing for the best for everyone.
Yeah, it really is. It focuses a lot on family and a lot of grief as well. Is this kind of the ongoing themes throughout the story? Grief, loss, and family, and love. So, I mean, it really is. I mean, what I'm double guessing everything. I'm double thinking everything I say before I say it because I don't want to ruin it. I just think what they've written is wonderful, particularly the ending. It's just so perfect, particularly with what's gone on recently, and how everyone in the world has just what we've had to go through. I just think it's just a beautiful time for this show to come out. So yeah, I know we're touring until May, but who knows what the future holds for it. I'm sure there will be one, definitely, but we don't know what yet.
Go and see Bedknobs and Broomsticks. It's one of the musicals I think that a lot of people have been waiting for a very, very long time, and they certainly have delivered it. Ladies and gentlemen, Charlie Brunton, thank you so much for coming back on Musical Talk, and good luck with the rest of the tour. It really is a wonderful show. You should all be very proud, and we look forward to seeing the EPK that you filmed today.
Yes, I've been up since 7. I'm exhausted. I'm going to have a Lucozade and a lie down in that order.
Enjoy that, and my best wishes to everyone else and you for the tour.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Musical Talk. To find out more about the world of Musical Talk, you can visit our website at musicaltalk.co.uk, where you'll find all our episodes, or you can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Musical Talk.